All right, folks. Tonight's episode is dense. Now, we also respect your time. So, we kept the conversation tight. But don't worry, we've got plenty of extra material for the deep divers out there. We've packed in visuals and documents to bring this all to life. And for our audio listeners on Spotify and Apple Podcasts, you'll just have to trust us. Buckle up.
Okay, so JFK got assassinated. Can you maybe make an argument to like why this matters, like to find what really happened and to explain to why civilians should care about what really happened, not like believe what the actual government is telling us?
Mm-hmm. So after Kennedy died, the White House was hijacked by various politicians, and there was infiltration also with business interests from Wall Street too. So it got hijacked by these people who wanted war. War was the answer, because after Kennedy's death, every president that went into the White House have all been warmongers.
So, welcome back. I guess apologies for the really late upload from last week. There's a technical difficulty that happened. I guess I've never really done this, but I could talk gear real quick just to kind of explain. This is not an excuse, but it's actually something I would like to share because I'm kind of geeking out over the achievement that I did. I think I did a breakthrough because... So I had an issue with the footage. It was flickering. So I'll put a sample of it right here. So it used to look like this. And then I turned it to look like this. It's weird to say it just pointing in the air. It's like, yeah, whatever.
You're a YouTuber now, man.
But, okay, so the thing is, I looked everywhere online. People do claim that they could solve that issue, but not really. They solve other issues that are similar, and I never found a solution to it.
Well. Let me guess. Spring cleaning.
Nice shot.
So I had to put my thinking hat on. Is like, how do I fix this? Because it's like, I didn't want to just do another episode and skip what we recorded before. I thought it was entertaining. So I was like, okay. So I came up with a solution, and I might do like a how-to video in my other channel. There
you go.
My other channel that I have nothing on it. I have like ideas for it.
Furo no Leon?
No. It's just Samuel Solis.
Oh, okay. No.
I'll put it right here too. I mean, if you're into gear and technical stuff, this is something that a lot of people go through, where it's just called corrupt footage. But I managed to find a solution to it by not using AI. I kind of refused to use AI. In theory, I knew how to use AI, and actually once I fixed it, the next thing I wanted to do was to use AI to kind of smooth things out. But one, I didn't have time, and two, I'm gonna stick to my guns and just do this, right? So the camera that I'm using is it's a Blackmagic Cinema Pocket camera, the 6K. I think it's called 2G. And I also have its previous models. Now, its previous models, you could record on what's called a solid state disk, an SSD drive like this one. And it's approved on its previous models. What I didn't know is that this card was no longer approved for the newer camera, or rather this particular model. And the reason for that is it requires a higher speed on reading and recording. And these have a threshold where like the two devices are not compatible, but I typically don't really have a problem with it. Sometimes it'll have like one drop frame, but this time it was like tons. It was like over 30 minutes. No, it was like almost exactly 30 minutes of just corrupted footage. But I was able to salvage it. And yeah, so what you want is not this one. This is this model, Point Air. I don't want to say the whole thing, but really you need a different model for it. However, I'm still recording with this with the same camera, and it shouldn't be a problem because really what it is just the settings that you put. I was recording in 6K previously. I'm still recording in 6K, but I changed the settings a little bit so it doesn't require higher speeds. And it shouldn't be a problem. If it does, I'll let you guys know. Yeah, but I didn't have time or the money to buy a new thing. And it could have been smoother if I really want to dedicate more time to the pod because it's fun. And I'm really like interested in what we do later on. And so I think it's kind of a cool, fun thing that could potentially be something later on. I don't know. We'll see. Anyways, so I guess that's that. I don't know. Did I miss anything?
No, I mean, yeah, I just wanted to voice the same thing as far as maybe why the episodes might take longer and so, like some people are like, well, why don't, I mean, I don't know how many listeners like are actually like, oh my God, I can't wait till the next
I know, it's really just us.
But no, it's just, there are things behind that some people that don't understand, like who don't have YouTube channels or never done like film editing or anything like that. You explained it pretty well. Like it's going behind the scenes.
Yeah.
And so that's why whenever I post in our stories and like, dude, just Sam edited the crap out of this. Like, go listen to it. Go watch it because like he put some hard work into it. Because again, this is like, I want to say this is a hobby for us, but it's more of like, it's not our main focus, right?
Yeah.
But at the same time, we do like to put some time and effort into it. And so when you do have the time that you designate into it, it's like, okay, like I'm using extra time that I want to say you don't have, but you could spend it with your family. You could go watch Severance, you know?
Yeah, which was great. It's getting better all every week.
Yeah. So you could be spending that time, but other than that, it's just
I just want to still kind of reiterate that the reason why I'm saying this is I'm actually excited of the solutions that I came up with that I don't think anyone has come up with. It's definitely not on Reddit's or any sort of forum, not even on Black Magic. And I use tools I know what I would have probably thought of. Because like I I'm in this industry of filmmaking, and so I hear it all the time that my footage is corrupted. Unfortunately, it's unusable. But maybe something like this could at least maybe not make it perfect, but at least have it on the high end of like usability, right? Like maybe it's not 100% usable. Maybe it's 80% as opposed to like the 5% that it was usable. So I'm excited to share that at some point. It might take a little bit of time. So if at all you're interested to know what I did, I'll post it on that maybe in a week or two.
Many months later. I'm sure he's close to a breakthrough.
But it's exciting. And hopefully what I'm excited about is actually people in the YouTube community or just professional filmmakers in general find my solution usable and at least save the footage, because time and the storage and the space, and because you do these projects with a bunch of people and to get them again, it's a lot of effort and a lot of money in many instances. So I'm excited to at least offer a solution to a lot of people, because you never know when the next corrupted footage comes your way, because these things fail, and sometimes it's the camera that fails, and sometimes it's the cable, and it's hard. There's many factors that brings you. Anyway,
I didn't even think about that. Like, there's so many things. Like, you have the mixer, you have the cameras, sometimes the headphones. What if the mics? Like, the mics sound like they're working, but then like they don't transfer into the
exactly.
So there's so many components that can fail. So dang, that's all. That man. There you go. That's your next video on your thing.
Yeah. My first video.
Yeah, okay, there you go. First video.
I have other ideas about it, but I'm just glad that I'm just stoked. I'm nerded out.
I'm laughing because like I feel like the intro your video would be like, I'm Sam.
What if I deep fake my face and put Schmidt's face in it?
Oh man, Schmidt. You could fake anything on there.
His voice too. Image and likeness.
Guitar.
Well, that's an interesting thing. Like, I'll be using his face, but I'm using his character that's not owned by him. It's owned by the writers and the studio that made New Girl. So I wonder, like, if I do use his face, who's gonna sue me? Is it them or is it him?
Yeah, I didn't think about that. There's so many things.
Maybe
that,
both.
like when you think about it as an innocent fan, where you're just watching, you're like, oh, cool, and then like, oh, when you break it down, okay, like I think his name's Max Greenfield. Does Max Greenfield himself sue you because you're using his like likeness, or is it you're using the character from the show New Girl?
Yeah, because I would want to emulate his character, not necessarily him.
Yeah.
So yeah, but I know that stuff is fascinating to me to think about. Like, who owns your face? You know? Well, I mean, I have not a clear idea, but I have an idea of where philosophically we could take that conversation. But it'd be cool to talk about that at one point.
Oh, for sure.
Do you, I forgot to do something and I forgot it last time. And that's
to make us coffee.
Exactly. How's your week?
This has the tops one of not worst weeks, but it's one of those weeks where you're just like, why is this happening to me? Because okay,
is that polyester, man?
No, it's not the polyester. Don't tell me that. So, if you guys remember from last week, if you were watching on YouTube, I have like this kind of big bump on my neck. Oh. And then Sam also made a comment of like, hey, you're looking pretty thin.
Previously on last week's episode.
You look thinner today for some reason.
Do I?
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, I've been on top of my nutrition lately. So I was like, oh, cool, awesome. I'm like,
yeah, I was wondering if something was going on, but then because you said that, like, thanks, I'm like, oh, maybe he wants to lose weight. So it's like, okay, cool. Because I didn't think he wanted to lose weight. So anyway, that's
yeah.
Like,
no, so it didn't dawn on me until I watched the episode back, or he sent me a clip from the episode, and I'm like, you know what, I do kind of look thin there. But then this was on Monday, and one of my workouts I was Friday and Saturday where I was lifting, and all of a sudden I was like, okay, this is lightweight, cool. And then I was like, whoa, this got heavy all of a sudden, really quick. I'm like, I got tired really quick, and that happened on Saturday again with my brother. And then Sunday came around, my skin like just breaks out like bad. And I showed pictures of Sam before we got on, and I was like, holy.
Should I show pictures? Are you cool with that?
If you want, but I was like, I don't want. No, I don't want to. I didn't send you the pictures though.
Dude.
But it's just, dude, it reminds me of like going back to high school. It's kind of like acne, but it's because I got, so long story short, I got staph, guys. So staph is short for Staphylococcus aureus, which is like a fungal or bacteria. Mm-hmm. That you get from the gym, from like, you can get it from contact with people or sweating, like people who don't like wipe down the things.
You do shave often though, right?
Yeah.
So
that's one of the things that's what the dermatologist told me.
I've heard people getting staph through shaving.
Yeah. So that's why one of the things you got to do is like wipe it down with like a alcohol thing. And I could have gotten it from there.
But look at him now, man. He's got facial. Maybe it was a.
No, dude, I hate it.
What do you guys think?
I hate it.
Bad?
No, I'm going to go freaking.
Nah, dude, I think it looks good. I think it looks good.
I got some grays. Can you see the grays?
No. Oh, okay.
Can you see the grays?
I see a couple. I think because of the light shining it.
Oh, okay.
But I didn't see it earlier. I didn't even notice it.
No,
I got grays.
I went to class yesterday. I'm like, everyone's gonna look at this old man. And like, dude, look, who's this guy?
Dude, everyone likes the gray fox, dude. Could testify.
I'll punch in the air. Like,
I could testify what?
Okay, that's our guess is gonna come in a little later.
People like a gray fox.
People don't know, but like that's. I don't want to say did we give away his identity? We're just gonna leave his name.
Our guest could testify. People that have met. I've never really talked. Well, people that have met our guest. I'll be editing it a lot. People that have met my guest before. Girls specifically have told me that he looks like really handsome, and it is because of the and they always say like, oh dude, I like me a gray fox, you know.
Dang, okay, something to look forward to.
Yeah,
okay.
So yeah, there you go. That's what I meant.
Because we talked about the aging thing, like, oh dude, like I don't want to go to school like this because I have freaking, I have the grays coming in, or like, oh, like everyone's gonna find I'm old. But yeah, no, long story short, like last week was really long because I didn't get to work out for a while. I didn't get to work out. I only worked out once, and then we could talk about what happened when I worked out once. But
yeah,
No, it's just it sucks because people who never got staph before, there's multiple symptoms that can happen, but for me, I was tired all the time. So after the pod, I went to go home and sleep, and then I went to the gym, and that's when I worked out. I'm like, okay, I'm still tired. This doesn't make sense. I literally just took like a 2-hour nap, and then I feel tired. And then Saturday I felt tired, and Sunday I felt tired. And then I went to the dermatologist Monday, and that's when they said like, oh hey, like yeah, you probably have staph, and we're gonna do like a cold. They did like the nose swab, and I was like,
oh, like that again?
Yeah, I was like, oh my god. So they swabbed my nose, and
I gotta say, I don't miss that. Like in airports, remember during COVID times, we had to wait in line.
Dude, it brought back bad memories for me. I was like, dude, I
remember I had a headache the rest of the day once while I was in Mexico, and they did that. They had us do that.
I was like, oh no, you gotta get culture from there. Fuck, okay. And then miss that. They did that, but yeah, like this is something I've been wanting to talk about for a minute with Sam is insecurities. And because, one of my biggest insecurities growing up was because of my skin. And so that's where, like, I showed a picture of, like, what happened to me throughout the week. And it just progressively got worse from Saturday to Sunday, right? And I was like, oh, my God, I got to go to school with this and blah, blah, blah. And I was like, so luckily we didn't have school Monday. Tuesday I called out because I didn't go to school because I technically couldn't go. Did
they offer any, did they offer you, like, someone gave you notes or something like that? Did you?
Oh, yeah. I got notes from somebody. So, yeah, it's fine. It's more of like, there's some classes you rather just be there in person because you get to, like, if you look at someone else's notes and, like, you're like, he wrote this down, but I have no clue what this means. But no, man, just, it's one of those things that, especially I went to the gym Tuesday. I was like, dude, I feel so ugly right now. I don't want anybody to see me.
Don't look at me. Don't look at me.
Oh, pause.
So Sam just pissed into a cup right now because Evan can't see anything. Oh, you gotta! I forgot we can't see it. I mean, yeah, we'll call him. What should his alias name be? Not style.
No.
It should be a cafe.
Nate.
All right, Nate.
I hope it's okay with you.
Yeah.
Yeah. He gets it. Why we might call him Nate. Yeah. Anyways, he'll probably say something as soon as he rings in.
Okay.
Just hold on. We're almost there.
Yeah, we're almost.
About to come first name. We're almost there, Nate. Okay.
Yes. Insecurities.
Yeah, I get it. I hear you.
Okay. Insecurities. Oh yeah, I didn't even say it. Yeah, we're gonna have our first guest this time.
Yeah,
although we did have a first like mute guest. Well, she said like pizza.
Yeah,
that's about it. But
she was cute.
She was cute.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. This game was bad last week. It just.
So now you don't want me to show pictures?
No.
Oh, okay. Okay, fine.
So that one time I worked out, if you guys remembered, if you listened to our earlier podcast, we were talking about, possibly matching with the teacher on a dating app.
Yeah.
I was working out on Tuesday. I had a hat. I had long sleeves. I didn't want anybody to see me. I just wanted to work out. I just wanted to like get all my frustration out, right? And all of a sudden I'm like, hey, that looks like so-and-so. That looks like Dr. Oh my God, that is her. And I'm like, oh no.
What was it?
Yeah, it was the one on the dating apps. And so I seen her, and I the more I looked at her, I'm like, yep, that's her. Yep. And then there was a moment where she like walked and she kind of like looked at me because I had facial hair and then I had a hat. So I don't know if she knew it was me.
You didn't say hi or
I didn't say hi or that because I felt like
she's probably gonna think like he'll never want to talk to me.
I felt like the Hunchback of Notre Dame. I was like, no, don't look at me.
Ladies like it when you get vulnerable just a little bit.
Yeah, it was just bad because I showed pictures of Sam, but like it was all around like my mouth here, like the my chin and upper lip, and like it's basically I got folliculitis, and it's a form of staph. And so folliculitis, if you break the word down, follicle. So it's follicles of the hair. So basically anywhere the hair grew, like it just
yeah.
So it was terrible. And then basically like right now I'm on 3 antibiotics. So I have a cream for my nose where they want me to like swab my nose. I have a topical cream, and then I also take an antibiotic pill wise to.
Which one, if I may ask?
I don't know the cream. I know like they put me on sulfamidicide, and they put me on an antibiotic called minocycline. And then I don't know what the cream is I put up my nose, but yeah, it's a motherfucker. Because it reminded me of like going back into high school. Because high school, like my acne was not pretty. I mean, it was pretty bad to myself because I was my own worst critic.
Yeah.
There would be times at school I told my mom, like, hey, I'm not going to school, and she's like, why not? I'm like. And she's like,
my face.
Yeah, and she's like, okay, well, you don't have to go to school then. Like, are you really gonna miss school because of that? I'm like, yeah. And I was like, she's like, okay, like you're not gonna miss school, like, yeah. So insecurities, man, are a motherfucker. Because
I know plenty of people, Pat, that feel the same way and probably have like, I've had that similar condition. Abs has had, she has felt that she has an acne problem. Maybe not lately, but she did. I think after she was pregnant with Elena, I think
it's common. It's common amongst like women, like when they go like from their mid-20s because of like hormonal changes. So that I've seen like girls on Reddit where they'll go, oh, I've never had acne my whole life, and all of a sudden I turned 20, like or at 22, 23, and all of a sudden I got acne. And it's hormonal stuff.
Yeah, I didn't get acne for a really long time either. And it wasn't until like late teens. Like probably 18, like as I was leaving high school, I feel. Yeah. Yep. And now I don't really have that much of acne either.
Yeah. I mean, but then one of the urgent care people told me it's just I want to say the luck of the draw because it sucks getting it, but there's people that are like 40s are still getting it too. Yeah. So it just sucks that I've always talked about my skin. So that's what I'm saying. When my skin feels amazing, it's like, let's go. Let's go do everything. Like,
so if I do show pictures, it won't be his pictures, it'll be other people's.
Yes. So there you go. But
I'll say that it's Patrick.
Yeah.
Out of deep respect for our more delicate viewers and listeners, and to avoid mass nausea, we have decided not to provide an image of a staph infection example. However, if you're feeling brave or foolish, you may consult your oracle known as Google at your own peril. Just maybe not while eating.
Yeah.
So, we talked about my insecurities, and I was thinking about it when I was at the gym. I was like, you know what? Like, some people don't really know like your past. They only know you like from right now, like when they see you. Mm-hmm. And I'm not saying like it's gonna be bad thing, but I just remember like, dude, no one's gonna remember like whoever you thought you were insecure as a little kid. Like if you thought you were scrawny and like you wanted to be the muscular guy, like no one's gonna know that was your insecurities when you were growing up. But like when they see the person that's in front of them right now, like whatever insecurities that you had back then, whatever it may be, they see Sam right now. They don't like if someone were to meet you, like they don't know that stuff unless you tell them. Yeah. So.
Yep.
Yeah.
Very true. Very, very true.
Yeah. Sam, what are some of your insecurities?
My insecurities, my weight, definitely.
Yeah.
My weight. People might not feel like it is, but I mean, I don't know. I didn't realize to what degree being overweight makes me feel insecure. Like doing this pod, actually, every single time, I'm just like, I don't want people to see me, man.
That's how I felt last week. I was like, because it started like on a Thursday, Friday. I'm like, no.
You should have told me there's filters I could do, or
no, it's all
some
good.
retouching.
Dude, it's part of life. Can't really hide it.
Right. And so I'm insecure about that to the degree that like it discourages me from going out. Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
Like period?
especially with older friends that I haven't seen in a while. And like, oh, I'm in town. You want to see me? Like, yeah, but I don't really want you to see me because,
I get that to a certain extent because like when my skin's bad, everyone's like, hey, like we're gonna go to downtown, or oh, hey, we're gonna we have a party or something. I was like, no, like dude, I don't want to go.
But at the same, once I see them, hopefully if an old friend hears me through this, I hope they know like I feel like I take pride that I do have a sense of humor. Because a lot of people typically do point it out. It's like, dude, you let yourself loose. Part of me is like, no, but part of me is like, whatever. Yeah, it's funny. It's like, yeah, dad fits me, It's a dad life. But yeah, it's but it's hard. That I'm really insecure lately.
Can I tell a story of like when we went to the gym? So I remember we went to the gym. It was probably like a couple weeks ago, and I remember Sam like went to go hang on the thing, and Sam was like, and like he didn't want to hang onto the thing. I'm like, Sam, like, dude, just do it. Like, who cares? Like, no one's gonna look. Like, fuck it. Like,
let me describe it. So one of the stretches is to hang on a bar, right? And so I had a shirt that I thought fit right, but it didn't. And so when I did that, the thing went like a tank top. Like my belly was showing in all its glory, and I'm like, nope, I'm staying down here.
And then it also happened on another machine, right? And then I was like, dude, Sam, dude, fuck it. Like, no one's gonna look, dude. Just go. Like, everyone's here, like, doing their own thing. Yeah. Because there's this quote,
but
bro.
my stretch marks,
dude, everyone's got stretch marks, man. I got stretch marks right here. I mean, you can't see my camera.
But it's your muscle that's stretching it, you asshole.
But still, it's still a stretch mark. Like, dude.
I get it. No, I actually don't care too much about the stretch marks, but you know, the belly.
Yeah. What do you think about this quote? So I've seen this before. I'm like, it's kind of true to a certain extent, but it says that the headlines basically nobody's thinking about you. You aren't afraid of failure. You're afraid of what other people think of you if you fail. Well, no one's thinking about you. They're too busy thinking about themselves. So go do the damn thing.
I do like it.
Like it's true to a certain extent though, right? Because you know that people notice you, but at the same time, you know, like they're doing their own thing. They're too caught up in their own thing, right?
Right.
So how do you take that? I like the quote a lot, but it's more like it's true. But then you know that people do notice you. So I would like the quote a lot, but it's just.
No, that's a great quote.
Yeah. That's what I told Sam. Well, that's why when I seen Sam, he was like doing like some sort of row for his back. And then he kept pulling the show. I'm like, dude, fuck it, Sam. Like, just embrace it, man. Like, just do the fucking workout.
Let them rub the belly.
So, dude, yeah, it's just, I think regardless, I mean, maybe I'm speaking to myself or maybe to people who do have insecurities, just still go do the fucking thing. I think.
No, I mean, I get it. And I put myself to shame because I have told friends in the past that were more overweight than I was. Like, I would tell them the same thing. And to quite honest, like, I would believe it. But now that I'm in that position where they were at, now it's like, oh, shit. Yeah, it's actually pretty bad. Like, it's pretty bad how you think of yourself and your body image. So I sympathize with them a lot. I understand where they were coming from. But I do think that the older me back then is still right. Like the older me would tell me, like, who gives a shit? Go out and do it. Right. So like you're saying. So I'm only agreeing with you in that I understand that is true. Yeah. And so... But once you're in that state, it's really hard to snap out of it because you could dig yourself deep into a dark hole that way.
Well, that's what I felt like I was digging myself into a pretty dark hole like the whole week. I was like, dude, I was thinking about like all of a sudden things started to avalanche. Like I was like, dude, I haven't applied to schools yet. Oh crap, I owe this money and like, oh damn, I haven't been to school in a minute. Like, dude, what if I like start failing and I just started going down the little like warp whatever tunnel or whatever.
Remind me, you are gonna stay an extra quarter, right? Or
I want to graduate, but it's just more of. There's a lot of factors into it, right? So if I don't get into the PA score, if it's too late to apply, then I'm like, well, where do I apply now? Because I can't apply in California because a lot of the California stuff was due December. And so that means I'm banking on applying out of state. So, yeah.
But if you stay another quarter, wouldn't you be able to apply again?
Yeah, but I mean, maybe I'm like being a harsh critic on myself. But I was like, damn, I'm going to be here not be here, but I mean, it's like, dude, I got to wait another year to like get into the program.
Another year pod.
I know. Well, no, I mean, dude, we can still do it. It's just that to me, it's just like, oh, well, it's different because you know how students over there are like in their early 20s. Yeah. And I want to say I don't have time, but like when you're getting older, the one thing you don't have is time because you want to be able to get, maybe that's the thing. We're all in a rush to get to places where we want to be or like get to these goals.
Well, it's back to what you were saying in was it the second pod that we did of the season where we were at the Schumann's?
Previously on some other week's episode.
It's just us.
Schumann's, yeah. Schumann's, you were saying how like we're very goal oriented, but you made the argument that we have everything like in front of us to do better choices, and that over time will get you to the goal. But really, the goal should be do good today. You know, yeah, and be happy today. You know, for those achievements that you're doing.
I think we are just our own harsh critic, our own harsh critic. But it's just
So yeah, so as we, sorry, I'm kind of rushing it here.
No, it's all good.
Only because for the first time we have a guest.
For sure. I want to talk to him about some stuff that I thought, like not even the topic that we're talking about, but I was also talking with the coworker this morning and stuff. So because I know he
used to work in the same company.
Yeah. So I mean, it's more of not about company wise, but the state of like, because he's a single. I mean,
yeah, he's single.
Okay, cool. Yeah,
he's a bachelor.
Yeah.
Eligible.
He's
bachelor.
actually helped us on the pod a couple times.
Oh yeah, he helped produce.
Yeah,
some of them. Yeah. I forgot about that.
Yeah.
Well, no, I didn't forget about that, but right now I hadn't thought about it. Yeah.
We were at the Pete's house.
Nate's like, what a dick. No. I was gonna say. So before you still there, Nate, with us?
Yeah, I'm here. You guys.
Yeah.
What's up, Nate?
What's up?
Hey, what's up? What's up, Patrick? What's up, Sam? Thanks for having me.
Yeah, no, thanks for agreeing on this. So we have common interest. The common denominator here is our interest in the Kennedys and the files that have been declassified that have actually, I'm not sure the state of it now, but they had like 40 to 50 days to release them, and they haven't yet. I think, yeah. And so it's all this speculation, and I know that we all have that interest. Like, what is the consensus? Like, I know officially it's still, we're talking about the Kennedys and specifically the JFK. I think that's where kind of it all started. But at least this thought, who actually killed JFK? And right now it's still the same dude officially. But
yeah, that's Wikipedia.
Yeah, that's and then there's
notice how all the videos that talk about the Kennedys and have conspiracy theories to explain, there's always attached to it a Wikipedia reference to JFK assassination done by a lone gunman.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, which is frustrating because I think right now, hopefully the public's already known that this whole fact checking thing is not that reliable, especially after the whole vaccine stuff. One of our biggest references at this point is Mark Zuckerberg and how he was pressured to fact check everyone, even though there were questionable things, and they were fact checking people that weren't wrong, but they made them seem like they were wrong. So the whole fact checking thing shouldn't hinder us from continually question these things, because I feel like they're there to help us not question it, right?
Yeah, half the population doesn't buy into it.
Yeah.
It's the CIA has agents that work in the media or the press, and that's been well known after the Frank Church investigation in 1970, in the 70s, and so yeah, and even Google is a product of a research grant from the CIA and the NSA. So they gave birth to Google in a sense,
Interesting. I didn't even think about that. Right now, who's the guy what's the name of the guy who's blamed for the assassination?
Is it Harvey Lee Oswald?
Yeah, Lee Harvey Oswald.
Yeah, and what's the speculation, the most popular speculation as to who actually killed John F. Kennedy? Do you know?
You mean the government's version?
No, more like as far as you're concerned, which one's the outside of the government? So not if we neglect Lee Harvey Oswald, who's next in line for speculation? The popular opinion.
it was a combination of the intelligence, CIA primarily, and a combination with the mafia and Cuban exiles.
Yeah, and I think how much can we credit the filmmaker? What's his name? Oliver Stone. Because I don't know if you've seen a JFK movie. I think it's a great movie, and Nate over here asked me to watch it several times and finally watched it. It was really
1991.
great. Yeah, it was really great. It presents a really good argument or a lot of great food for thought.
3 hours and 26 minutes.
Yeah,
Wow.
and then there's a director's cut.
Long.
Holy shit.
Yeah, but it's a good movie. It really puts you on the edge of your seat.
It's a movie?
Yeah, it's a
because
spy,
I see actors in here. I'm like, holy crap, John Candy is in there and Kevin Costner.
Yep.
Tommy Lee Jones. Wow.
Yep. And what's his name?
It's a good ensemble cast.
Yeah. What's his name?
Kevin Bacon.
Yeah, Kevin Bacon's in it. Joe Pesci. He's great. He's great in it too.
This was in 1991. Holy, I'm going to have to watch this.
Yeah, it's great.
Yeah.
It ends in a courtroom drama, although that's like my least favorite part. The courtroom drama is like it didn't, but I understand why he did it that way. But I think the whole movie is great. And is the movie based on something?
It's a combination of the book The Crossfire by Jim Smart and On the Trail of the Assassins written by the same district attorney within the movie, Jim Garrison.
Yeah.
So it's based on those two books.
How many of the people involved? How many of those characters in the film have been assassinated? And who's left? You know, can you give us like a rundown of the list of the people who have been who are dead?
There was about 103 deaths from 1963 from the assassination up to the 1970s, early 70s. So about 103 deaths. I don't know all of them exact names, but they died mysteriously.
Mm-hmm. Can you give us like maybe an example or two of certain personalities that were surrounding this whole ordeal? Okay,
so on the day that JFK was about to go on a motorcade, what's her name? Her name is Julie Ann Mercer. Yeah, there you go, Julianne Mercer. She saw Jack Ruby, the guy who killed Lee Harvey Oswald, getting a weapon from a car, and she thought it was from the Secret Service. And he was in the side where Kennedy was going to be en route. And this is before the assassination. And nobody knows if she died or if she just went off the grid because they couldn't find her anymore. And another one was the same guy that comes in the film, David Ferry. He was questioned by the district attorney from New Orleans, Jim Garrison. And after giving multiple different versions of his statements, because he would backtrack into what he said, and then he was found dead. With it. Jack Ruby, too. He was to testify on court. He had 2 weeks, and then he suddenly dies from cancer. And he explicitly stated before that someone had injected into him cancer. He had liver cancer.
Damn.
So his death was really drastic and very mysteriously coordinated before the date of the court.
Can I step in?
Yeah.
So, I mean, again, everyone knows, like, you know, JFK got assassinated, but I'm talking from the civilian standpoint of, it's not necessarily that I don't care, but it's more of, okay, so JFK got assassinated. I want to say, so what if? Can you maybe make an argument to like why this matters, like to find what really happened and to explain to why civilians should care about what really happened, not like believe what the actual government is telling us?
Mm-hmm.
So after Kennedy died, the White House was hijacked by various politicians, and there was infiltration also with business interests from Wall Street too. So it got hijacked by these people who were warmongers and who wanted war. War was the answer, and they wanted to flip government to democracy, capitalist style.
I want to say, if I may, do you think all of this had to do with post-World War II mentality? Because we just came out of a World War II with the idea of like fixing the world. No, it's kind of like, but I don't know if that at all has any merit to any of this.
I actually don't know. It's very convoluted, the story of why the United States had this antagonistic attitude towards the Soviet Union. I mean, people right now think of Soviet Union with Russia, but Soviet Union covered a lot of countries, including like one of the countries that we don't consider is Armenia. Armenia was part of the Soviet Union, so it's not the same saying Russia and Soviet Union. And one interesting fact is that the United States actually recruited some members of the Nazi Party to help them with intelligence information to actually have this antagonistic attitude towards the Soviet Union. For some reason, they thought that the Nazis. I read this book called The Devil's Chessboard, and it's all well documented about how much the United States used these intel officers that were from the Nazi Party, and then they used them on their quest to have this war mentality against the Soviet Union. Yeah, but it's perplexing. I don't understand. I read the literature on this, and I don't know where it comes from. I think it might be derived from knowing that you're the superpower, because the United States was seen as a superpower after World War II, and so to have someone creep in and suddenly reveal that they have also nuclear warheads, nuclear missiles, it's kind of a threat for someone who's had the lead on it for a long time. So yeah. Human nature, I guess.
Yeah. Can you remind us why was he assassinated? Like what was he so much of a threat? Like, even from the point of view of Lee Harvey Oswald, like, what was the excuse? Like, why do they say he killed him, or what are the motivations?
I think I could answer that question also following up on the question that Patrick made, that why is it so important for us to know about this? Well, I don't know if you remember. I know you guys are younger than me, but I remember in the 2000s, it was all of the Bush administration. It was all about the war on terror. Do you guys remember that?
My fellow citizens, at this hour, American and coalition forces are in the early stages of military operations to disarm Iraq, to free its people, and to defend the world from grave danger.
Do you guys remember that?
Oh yeah, like we gotta find the weapons of mass destruction.
We're gonna find Katrina.
We're gonna find her. That's right, and we're gonna bring Katrina to justice.
This sense of this mentality of we're the good guys. We can declare war. I mean, because we were against the United States went against so many like massive protests around the world, and then against the UN, and against international court, and they violated every human right. Bush just said they might have weapons of mass destruction, so we're going to declare war on Saddam Hussein, and then they didn't find anything. But this entitlement is what I'm saying. This sense of entitlement that we see the world as our playground and we could declare war, that's not an original sentiment from the American spirit. And that is directly or indirectly a consequence of Kennedy's death. Because after Kennedy's death, every president that went into the White House, with a possible exception of maybe Nixon, because he ended the Vietnam War, have all been warmongers and have all tapped into countries trying to see if they have communist leanings, right? Mm-hmm. And they wanted to change it to democratic states. So they kept this going on. And one of the consequences, like one example that I can tell you, is Archbishop Romero from the 1980s.
From El Salvador?
El Salvador, yeah.
Uh-huh.
What was the reason why he got killed? Because supposedly he was a communist.
Yeah, it's just for those who don't know, El Salvador at one point, I don't know the full history. What I do remember is that a lot of the weapons supplied to the government were sponsored by the U.S. and right? Am I right about that?
Come again? Say that again.
Who was supplying the weapons to El Salvador? Wasn't it the U.S.?
Oh, yeah, the U.S. Yeah, correct.
So what was their interest in El Salvador?
The El Salvador wanted to, like, the most elite were part of the government, and so the government wanted their government to be in style, like in a capitalist country such as the United States. So what that did is that made people that were poor more poor, and then there was a struggle between classes. So Archbishop Romero did not take a side, but he advocated a lot for the human rights of people that were in the misery and in poverty. And so he was labeled as a communist because he seemed to go against the government of El Salvador. So you can trace back all these thoughts that backed all these assassinations due to this mentality that hijacked, that took over the White House, and that's after Kennedy's death. Mm-hmm. Because they said Kennedy, during his presidency, that he was soft on communism. Yeah. That was a common. He didn't become a communist, but he was gonna be open to dialogue with Fidel Castro, and a lot of people overlooked that detail.
So what I'm understanding is the main reason why he got assassinated is because there's some sort of ulterior motive within whatever we know is from the government or from the outside source, that they didn't like where the leadership was going, and so that's why they assassinated him, because they were going against communism. Is that what I understand?
Okay, so the story goes like this. In simplified form. So, ex-Cuban, I'm just trying to find the word. Cuban exiles that live in Florida had a business interest with Havana in Cuba. You know, Havana used to be like Las Vegas. It had many casinos. So a lot of mobsters in the U.S. and a lot of people within the government owned casinos, and so there was a rebellion in Cuba, and Fidel Castro was a leader, and he overthrew the leader, and he was for the people, and he wanted to allocate all the resources and all the businesses towards the people of Cuba, and so that disrupted the system of all the businesses that mobsters owned and Cuban exiles too. And so what happened is that when Kennedy came into office, they had already a plan to invade the Bay of Pigs in Cuba to liberate, supposedly, quote unquote, to liberate the people oppressed by Fidel Castro. But the real interest was that they wanted to have their casinos back online. You know what I'm saying? So they tell Kennedy, hey, the people are oppressed, and we got Cuban exiles who, by the way, CIA were training them in a camp in Miami. So they tell Kennedy, we got Cuban exiles who want to retake control of the country. The people are oppressed by Fidel Castro. Fidel Castro is a bad guy. And once we transport these Cuban exiles who will fight for freedom in Cuba, the people in Cuba will be motivated and they'll help them overthrow Fidel Castro. Mm-hmm. So Kennedy was very skeptical of this plan, but he went along with it. But the idea was the government officials from the CIA who planned the invasion of the Bay of Pigs, they actually knew that they were going to lose. They were going to be defeated, but they wanted Kennedy to have an excuse to tell him, oh, hey, these guys are being beaten, the military of Fidel Castro, you need to send the naval forces to invade. So they wanted Kennedy to have an excuse to invade with military power. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, so Kennedy felt betrayed. He was a good thinker. He was a young president, and all his staff were World War II veterans. So you get a young guy in their 40s who thinks radically and who thinks twice about and is able to figure out that they're tricking him to go to war with Cuba, only because they have business interests with their casinos. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
And so in the real history, once the Cuban exiles land in Cuba, they're outnumbered by the military of Fidel Castro, and they're taken as prisoners. So it was a humiliation for Kennedy, and Kennedy had to apologize publicly. And he felt betrayed, and he fires the main planners of this Bay of Pigs fiasco, the three main guys of the CIA. And so what happens is that Fidel Castro then knows that they've been violated by an invasion by the U.S. And so Fidel Castro asks Premier Khrushchev who's from the Soviet Union. They ask him for some help so they can have protection. And so the Soviet Union does what Khrushchev does is he sends missiles to Cuba and points them at the United States in order for them to prevent them from ever invading Cuba again. And so now the surrounding advisors, military advisors to Kennedy, pressure Kennedy to go to war with Cuba. So in their attempt to motivate Kennedy to escalate the war against Cuba would be a war with the Soviet Union. And this is what they are called the 13 days and the missile crisis. And one of the key things is that this has been the closest we've ever been, being on the brink and edge to nuclear annihilation.
Here they are on their way to school on a beautiful spring day. But no matter where they go or what they do, they always try to remember what to do if the atom bomb explodes right then. It's a bomb. Duck and cover. Paul and Patty know what to do. Paul covered the back of his head so that he wouldn't be burned. And Patty covered herself with the coat she was carrying.
Remember what to do, friends. Now tell me right out loud. What are you supposed to do when you see the flash?
Duck and cover. Be sure and remember what Bert the Turtle just did, friends, because every one of us must remember to do the same thing.
And Kennedy feared this scenario of nuclear exchange between countries because he knew that the rules of war were different. They were not like anymore like before World War II. Mm-hmm. And so he writes this down that he thinks about the children and the children's future. And so the military is pressuring Kennedy to take action and give a green light to nuclear exchange with Cuba and the Soviet Union. And they tell Kennedy, they brief Kennedy that so the Soviet Union is way behind in years in their progress to outcompete the United States with their nuclear arsenal. Mm. So they were really behind, and that's true. The United States had the advantage with all the nuclear warheads that they had in comparison to the Soviet Union at that time. And they were advising Kennedy to take action because there will be a lot of casualties, millions of casualties. They will tell him that, but they will come out as winners. Kennedy resisted. This is the key thing on the missile crisis. And this wasn't known. It was suspected by the public, but it wasn't known. And until the release of the files, I think in the 90s, well, not too long ago in my perspective, but Kennedy was on the edge of pushing the button because of the pressures of his advisors. Mm-hmm. But he resisted, and what ended up happening is that Robert Kennedy,
his brother,
his brother, the Attorney General at that time, he sent him to send a secret message to Khrushchev, the premier of Soviet Union. And so Robert Kennedy goes to the ambassador of the Soviet Union, and he gives him a message to be delivered to Khrushchev. And that was a message from Kennedy. Kennedy was telling Khrushchev that he was not in control of his government.
Which one's Khrushchev again?
He's like the president of the Soviet Union. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Khrushchev. And so Kennedy is being pressured, and so he sends a message through Robert, who delivers it to the ambassador for the Soviet Union, and he gives it to Khrushchev, and Khrushchev receives a message, and that message is that John F. Kennedy is not in control of the government, and they might overthrow him. And so Khrushchev, what he does is that he orders the missiles to be removed from Cuba, and Fidel Castro gets outraged at this. He doesn't understand Fidel Castro. This exchange changes Kennedy's heart. If we go back to the debates with Nixon, Kennedy was actually anti-communist more than Nixon. And he won those the presidential debates because of it. But he was not easily manipulated. But this act from Khrushchev of seeing him under pressure and then changing his mind and helping him out recalibrated Kennedy's mind. Yeah. And so he started being not communist, but he started being more of a diplomat, if I am to describe his attitude.
Yeah.
So he became more of a diplomat. Yeah. But this message through back channels that were done through the ambassador to Khrushchev was seen by his advisors, and so all was seen as a betrayal. Actually, they considered him an enemy for treason. So through the entire government, they started to circulate the idea that Kennedy was a traitor to the country. So everybody was.
Well, he already had some heat under his back. I know that he, like, even, I mean, besides the whole communist thing, like he changed the Democrat Party too. Like, you know, the South and the East was called the Democratic South, and they were the Democrat Party was all about segregation and all of this. And so it was Kennedy who basically told the Democrats, all right, you guys need to cut it out. Like, this is not acceptable.
It ought to be possible, therefore, for American students of any color to attend any public institution they select without having to be backed up by troops. It ought to be possible for American consumers of any color to receive equal service in places of public accommodation, such as hotels and restaurants and theaters and retail stores, without being forced to resort to demonstrations in the street. And it ought to be possible for American citizens of any color to register and to vote in a free election without interference or fear of reprisal. It ought to be possible, in short, for every American to enjoy the privileges of being American without regard to his race or his color.
And so probably people today don't know that, the people who were the most racist were the Democrats, and he flipped it on its head, right?
Wait.
So he probably had a lot of already heat from all sorts of stuff he already had.
So from what I understand, so JFK wanted to do business with the Prime Minister of Russia? Is that what it was? And then he was feeling pressure from like his own, like the people around him to like not do it, but since he was not as like pushable or like such a pushover, that he was like defiant against the people that were telling him to like, hey, like don't do business with them and all that.
I don't think he saw an option to dialogue with Khrushchev because of the mentality once he got into the White House. But I think it was a last resort thing. The fact that he sent a message through Robert Kennedy. Because he rejected the idea of a nuclear exchange, because that would be the end of humankind. So he knew that, and so
this wasn't John F. Kennedy himself like wanting to do it. Like it was the voices around him telling him to reject it, right?
Reject reject what?
Well, you're saying because he said his supporting group around him like were basically telling him to not do business with them, right?
Well, to not have a dialogue.
Yeah. So, but he forewent that and actually did, right?
Yeah, he did.
So, everything's starting to make sense now.
You got to remember, this is we're kind of still in the beginnings of Cold War, where there's the whole fear of nuclear disaster.
Yeah.
So, and I mean, remember in Cuba, there were the whole things that like there was he was mentioning about the missiles in Cuba. And all this like tension was growing, and the idea of our president in dialogue with someone who's communist, who we're in direct tensions with, just felt like
who we consider our enemy.
Yeah, just felt like very.
So in a basic terms for people like myself or who don't understand the situation, basically it's like he feels like a traitor in a sense. Like he's supposed to be doing good for our country, but we see this guy making. Not amends, but talking with the prime minister.
There was a cool quote. I was trying to look for it right now on my phone from the movie, where it was something like a patriot, and I think it's this kind of summarizes. It's not even so much that he was not doing what was good for the country. He just wasn't doing what was in the government's best interest. So. In the quote in the movie, there was a quote. Sorry. Just really quickly, there was a quote in the movie that says something like, "A good patriot
must always be ready to defend his country against its government." I'd hate to be in your shoes today.
So I think it does do a good job at distinguishing, like, even though the country's interest and the government's interest might not align.
So I mean, I want to step in right now because, like I said, I don't know too much of the situation, but. From what it sounds like, it's sounding like the government stepped in and killed Kennedy, right? Is that what like this leads to?
Yeah, there's have been a lot of confessions and conveniently, as has been always on the deathbed of those who confess to the crime. but there is one official. People always debate. Oh, you know what? How do you know it was the CIA? Oh, you just like conspiracy theories. Where's the proof? Well, there's actually proof. There have been people who have witnesses people who were involved in the assassination, who have confessed to the crime, and one that is officially recorded is Howard Hunt. His name is Howard Hunt.
Who is
he? He is mostly well known for being the plumber who broke into the Watergate building in the Watergate scandal, and so he was on the payroll of CIA, the CIA, and so he was involved in the plot of killing Kennedy, and he didn't confess it to the crime until he thought he was going to die, but he actually remained alive for 2 years.
The thing that was the what am I trying to say? I'm thinking two things right here. One thing that blows my mind is the fact that Lee Harvey Oswald, who's blamed for the assassination, I do think that the court is supposed to not necessarily prove it's guilty or innocent. It's supposed to prove if he's guilty or not guilty. I'm not saying that he's innocent, but that he's not guilty. And I think there's overwhelming evidence to show that there's reasonable doubt to think that he didn't do it. Doesn't mean that he did do it. I'm not saying that he didn't do it. Is that there's reason enough evidence to doubt whether he did it or not, and to prove that he's not guilty, not that he's innocent, but that you pretty much could prove that he was. You can't prove that he is guilty, and so that should be enough to make the record clean enough to say, yeah, he didn't do it, someone else did it. But no, still the consensus is that he did it. And to me, that blows my mind because there's plenty of evidence to point otherwise.
Yeah, and before that, Kennedy was actually going to be killed in Chicago. He wasn't going to be killed in Dallas. Yeah, but they discovered the plot. And this came out on the 2017 classified information that Trump released.
Yeah, previously.
So you begin to connect the dots, but you asked about the JFK film, that if all that was true, and I can tell you that that most of it is true, with the exception of even the conversation with the X character. And so that's true, but not in that scenario. So it was a military advisor who talked to Oliver Stone, and he said what he was doing. So they included that as a film, but it didn't flow exactly like that storyline.
Yeah.
But
I wonder what does RFK Jr. think? Like, who does he think killed him? Does he agree with the film?
I've never heard a conversation of him referencing the film, but he has said that RFK, his dad, the first thing he did, he has said this in the talks that I've heard from him, that the first thing his father said when he got killed, he thought it was a CIA who. So he went and talked to the director of the CIA, and he asked him, "Hey, was it you guys who did this?" He said RFK Jr. says that his dad said that, and you also mentioned, Sam, that Kennedy was thinking about what is good for the public, or what is good for the government, right? Well, so it was a Bay of Pigs, the resistance to nuclear exchange to the Soviet Union, and also his reluctance of getting combat troops to be involved in the Vietnam War. His resistance to get into war with Vietnam was the what do you call that?
The straw that broke the camel's back.
There you go. The straw that broke the camel's back. Yeah.
And those who were close to Kennedy, have said that he even said himself, JFK, he even said himself before re-election, because he was going to be re-elected. He said, you know what, I'm going to get these guys out, and let's. He only had military advisors involved in Vietnam, but he didn't have any combat troops. But he was going to even pull the advisors too. And he said he was going to be the most unpopular president, but he didn't care. He was going to be the most unpopular president after re-election, but he didn't care. He wanted to end the wars. Yeah. He wanted Americans to be away from war.
Yeah,
and that was a
that's
the reason why he got killed.
Yeah, and I think one of the reasons why I'm very much interested. I mean, there's many reasons, but I think one of the big motivations of the public why they should know what happened to the Kennedys, not just because the family deserves to know, and so they could finally grieve properly. Which, if can you imagine being in their shoes? Like, part of them are like, okay, I want this to end. Like, they don't really know who did it, but they'll be like, I don't care. Like, I just want to end this. But the fact that they don't know, and we keep coming back, like, who did it? It's got to be terrible for that family. Like,
well, especially like the kid, like the grandkids and whoever like coming up, like their names forever attached until that thing gets solved, or quote unquote solved.
In RFK's shoes, RFK Jr.'s shoes, like, who killed my dad? RFK, because he was also assassinated.
Yeah,
like, who killed my dad and who killed my uncle and who killed his dad's friend MLK, right? And so it's got to be frustrating for him. But aside from that, like, we deserve to know, like by knowing that I think after 9/11 and all of that whole thing in the war on Iraq and all of that, like, that didn't make sense to us. So I think that should be telling that the government has its own
ulterior motives.
Yeah, and they're lying to our faces, and so we want to know what's up, and we're the ones funding it. All of us, we're funding with our taxpayer dollar. Which, by the way, the Doge things that have been coming up that they're finding, that stuff's ridiculous.
Yeah, my coworker was telling about it this morning.
Yeah,
like, what they saying, like they were funding, or they were giving money to someone who was 300 years old or something, and it was just how are you giving money to that person?
They were giving money to learn how to bend. Like, they had millions of dollars go to learning how to make animals out of balloons.
Going to clown school or what?
Yeah, yeah.
Oh,
well,
crazy.
To me, I think, like, it's really just laundering money at some point. Like,
basically,
I feel like
that's what basically is.
They just need to, for bureaucratic reasons, just like put a name on it so they can receive the money. But yeah, it's stupid. So I feel like the country needs to know, like, what the hell have they been doing with our money, and, like, what are they lying to us about?
I want to step in too, just because I know we're running short on time, and there's also one more topic, but I don't know if we might have to save it for another time.
Mm-hmm.
But basically, like, I want to piggyback what Sam said. I think it is important because because we know that this is important to talk about, or to know, like, why this happened, is because we know that the government can step in at any time if it's not according to their plans, or if it's not in the best interest of the nation to do business with so-and-so, like, they're going to step in and do what it needs to be done.
Yeah.
And this case being done is what, quote unquote, being done is assassinating JFK because he's not doing the best for the country.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, you're asking?
No, I mean, that's what I just come to realization is, like, the government's going to step in, not regardless. I mean, regardless, but it's just the government had their hands on this all this whole time, and, like, we thought it was just a lone wolf that was that assassinated JFK.
Yeah, they also, like, I had something in my mind right now. Like,
well, you have to understand too that he was against all these people who fought in World War II, all these colonels, and so he was surrounded by them, and so here comes a new president, a young president, and
older folks, and this guy's like he was. he changed the face of presidents, right? Like back in the day, it was always old men, or at least like if you notice the televised stuff, like presidents, they were older. They kind of never really groomed very well, but after like JFK, because people saw that he was, he was a good looking guy and he was well dressed and groomed. So now every president does its best after that to look well televised, right?
Was he the youngest?
At the time,
Yeah,
I'm pretty sure.
Let me see.
I don't know, Barack Obama, maybe?
Yeah,
That's
Barack
what
would be
I was gonna
second,
guess,
probably
yeah.
a close second, or I don't know, something like that.
It is Theodore Roosevelt at age 42.
Oh dang! Oh yeah, but he was reelected many times, right? Probably like 4 times. Was it him?
Roosevelt. No, that was Franklin D. Roosevelt.
Okay.
Roosevelt.
Okay.
Who got elected. But how important it is for the declassification. Now imagine, I don't think we're gonna get anything like
mind blowing.
No, that will say, oh, the CIA was involved in the plot, because they've been covering their tracks forever. But imagine if something were to come out to imply that the CIA was involved in the killing of our own president. That would send shockwaves and it will send shockwaves, and it will be a stab in the heart for those patriots, and it will start losing their faith towards these intelligence agencies. And so what that's going to happen, and mark my words, it's going to make people want Edward Snowden to be pardoned.
Well, I think he should. I'm hopeful for that too.
You know what this reminds me of too? I mean, I don't want to go back to obviously 2020 was a bad time, but it reminds me of basically how people finding out about how things are not mishandled, but in this case, but how things are mishandled in 2020, right? But it's more of, if the public were to find out about this stuff, we think the government's going to be like, oh, like we're functioning in the best of like people's interests. Like, what makes you think they're going to be in the best of your interest if we're going to go assassinate this guy, And then if they find out it was the CIA, and it's, well, dude, like, what the hell? I thought the CIA was supposed to protect people and all this stuff. And so I can understand why you're saying it could send shockwaves through our nation. So now a lot of it's starting to like resonate with me of why this is important. And because I've always wondered why, because I was like, oh, well, he got assassinated. It was just a random dude. And I'm like, okay, well, the hell these people like worried about? No, I mean, it's cool to see this side of this, because I never understood this,
Yeah. So what's going on with the classified files now? Like, where are we on that? They were supposed to come out like last Monday?
So Anna Pauline Luna, who's in charge of the task force of looking into the classifications, so there's a website her team posted on the government website, and I saw this. It will be on March 17th, I believe, that they will a brief of what they've learned, and so, but it was 2,100 files, right, that the FBI found, but it should be 6,000 approximately, because they out of 5 million documents, 1% remains, and people say that's more than 2,100, and so I just my wish is that this comes out, that the CIA I like, from hearing all the testimonies and all the witnesses, declarations, it is beyond a reasonable doubt that it is how people speculate in terms of that the CIA, the mobs, and the mafia, the FBI was involved. The FBI was involved in the cover-up, but that they were all involved in the plot to kill Kennedy, and it was a government effort to kill their own president. And I think that will put us in a mirror and see our reflection of how we're doing as a country.
Yeah.
And
can I step in? So you talked about the documents. The document, it says since 1992, the JFK Records Act was passed. It says 320,000 documents have been reviewed and 99% have been released. But it says, but the Biden administration left 2,141 documents fully or partially redacted, and another 2,500 docs were withheld for other reasons.
Quote unquote.
Yeah, it's like like reasons, like what? Like how
reason?
How are we gonna just fully redact? Or like, I don't know. That's just so fishy to me. Like, why wouldn't you just leave all the documents in? Yeah.
Well, by the time, so JFK film, I read in a comment that Oliver Stone showed this film to Congress at the time in 1991. And so that's what shifted the attitudes in Congress. And so they made the 1992 John F. Kennedy Recollection Act and Records, which stated that by 2000 that they would start releasing some files, and that by 2017, which was during Trump's presidency, that they would release all the documents. But in 2017, once they were about to release all the documents, the CIA director Mike Pompeo begged Trump, and this is said in the interview with when they asked Trump why didn't he release all the files. He said that Mike Pompeo, the director of the CIA, begged him to not release them. And so later came Biden. Biden released a new batch, but then a few were kept.
But what was his reasoning? What was the reasoning behind why to keep him locked?
I don't think he stated it, but Trump said it in an interview with Joe Rogan. But I don't think that's accurate though, because Trump says a lot of things that he just comes to his mind.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I didn't think it was true that he said it was because there were some addresses. However, one of the Secret Service that was on behind Kennedy's limousine, he died in 2019. So I don't know if this has to do anything with it. Because he might have had information of why that he was ordered to not to leave Kennedy's motorcade alone and not protect it. So yeah, there's a bunch of loopholes.
Yeah,
a bunch of.
Yeah, so we're almost. We should start wrapping up. But is there anything that you'd like? At least we only have. We don't have that. I don't know. Probably 20 people listening on us. So, what would you like to say to what should we leave off of here? Like, what should we learn from this?
I think there's a lesson of humility as a country, that what makes a country great is how humble it is, and how that you could set an example to all the nations, be first world class by just not advocating for war, always wanting peace is a strength in a country, and so we've always defined the strength of our country by the capacity to wage war, and so I think it's a time to humble ourselves, look in the mirror, and say, hey, we've had a country, we had our own sins, and let's own up to it. Let's say that we killed our own president, and that we should not ever do that again. Yeah. And that's it.
I do think that there is like a. Yeah, I think that's a great point, because I do think that a lot of the fact that the country lies to us and we're all kind of like speculative of it, and the government isn't straightforward, and to us is like it messes with our sanity. I think, because I think it's important that we all feel patriotic about where we live, and that makes us makes us feel good about ourselves, where we live, feel pride about it, and right now I think. It's mixed water. It's weird, and it's been like that for a little too long. And right now, I think we're kind of in the boiling pot at that point. Like, I
feel like I just want to end on too. It's just as far as like it feels like we're in it feels like we're in a point where I won't say transparent, but it's almost we're at that point where like the nation's like shifting into something where I don't know what it's shifting into. It's
something new, for sure.
Like it's not like we know that we can't hide, and like the government can't hide too much stuff anymore, because obviously like they can only do so much now, and I feel like as a nation I want to say we're like shifting our identity, but it feels like we're going away a different. A different way of I just said it 3 times, but a different method of like how to go about things now.
Yeah, and that's due in part by this method of sending a message, like podcast, YouTube videos. So it has changed the game now for and I'm hopeful for it. I'm really hopeful that things will change for the better.
Yeah.
For sure.
Well, thanks again, Nate.
Nate, it was good talking to you again, man. It's been a while.
Likewise. Thanks, Pat, and thanks, Sam, for having me on the podcast.
For sure.
Yeah.
We'll have to have you back on and talk about some other things as well.
Yeah. Like,
all right, cool.
Like gray hair versus black hair.
Okay.
Right.
Yeah, that's fine. All right.
All right. Sounds good.
Have a good one.
You too.
For sure. That's it.
Yep.
I think that's it.
That's it.
For sure.
We're definitely this has not been the longest, but is the longer one as of the latest.
Yeah.
But thanks for sticking around, and I hope you enjoy this.